play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'm never
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Another week, another race in the RaceSpot TV Friday primetime here on the iRacing Esports Network. I am Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Ryan Walker. As ever, this time around, we head ourselves to Road Atlanta, and not just Road Atlanta. The Road Atlanta short layout here is what we have to contend with, or rather the drivers have to contend with. There's the track information up on screen for you now. 29 degrees track temperature, partly cloudy conditions, very calm with the winds as well. As the drivers currently on the start of their qualifying session here, Ryan. A lot of people may be thankful that we're not running the full layout due to how powerful the draft is on that layout, but since we're going to have around about a minute lap times here, the draft's effect will be a little bit less.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of sad we're not racing the full layout because it's one of my favourites, but I think the short layout will be producing great racing tonight, and it'll be interesting to see what the racing's like. And like you say, Connery, that back straight with the short layout, I don't think the draft is going to be as much of a factor here tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be. We've had, basically all your times in qualifying already. That's how fast it happens, only a minute in terms of a lap time here, or 1 minute. 0.555 to be exact, if you're Jose Soraya at the front of the field. We see Sergey Heras, though, who is currently heading his way in towards that final chicane. One of the big opportunities there to try and get past your competition, heading up the hill, then back down the hill under the Suzuki Bridge into that final corner where you can carry a lot of speed, a lot of momentum, but step a foot out of line, you find yourself in a wall. Heras, though, heading his way across the line. Doesn't set a great lap time at all. That's down in P number 19, but this could be here, Ryan. He set his basically first flying lap, and his second flying lap, which is always faster here in these Skip Barber cars with the new tire model, is going to be the one where he goes 100%.
I agree. Yeah, with the tyre model as well, the first lap is not really the quickest lap. It's the second lap, like you mentioned. It's where the lap time seems to get quicker just because of the tyres are getting up to temperature, and I think Heras might, if he keeps it clean so far, he could put in a decent lap time for his second lap.
He could well do. Now, final big braking zone of the lap into that final chicane. It felt like it was literally 2 seconds ago I was talking about this same portion of the racetrack on that previous lap. That's how quickly things go by here at the short layout of Road Atlanta. But Sergey Heras now going to be angling himself into the final corner. And towards the end of qualifying, what lap time does he set? It's a 106.153, good enough to put him up into P15. And with everyone setting times, we can go straight to our grid. Jose Soraya in pole position then for this one, with Simon Edwards in that front row as well. He lines up second. Dennis Johansson in P3 with Alfredo Malo in P4 here today to start. Will Fisher starts P5 and Christian Carbanca in P6. Tim Graukoger in P7 with Juan Dramalsis Torres in P8. Anthony Katz starts P9 with Ben Snell in P10. Jan Tent in P11 with Tim Hendrickson in P12 here to start the race. Alexis Vico in P13, Gonza Garcia in P14, Sergey Harras, we saw the end of his qualifying, he starts P15, Borja Zazo in P16 here today. And you've got Edwin Valerino, Cristobal Otero, and Anthony Jones rounding out your 19-car field. Gridding process still underway. Drivers taking themselves to that starting grid, and we're just about to get ready for another round of RaceBot TV Friday prime time in the Skip Barber Racing Series. It goes green here at Road Atlanta. Drivers getting themselves decent starts, and of course you see the car right at the very front of the field getting itself a very, very good sign. That's Sawyer, now followed in by Simon Edwards. He was able to find a gap to file into. You see battling between Johansson and Mallow though behind, in towards that very blind turn-in of turn number 3, but it looks like Johansson's been able to get his way by ahead. You see Will Fisher as well in that red car looking to try and work his way by, but it's so difficult when it comes to that SS section. We still see side by side through it though at the very back of the field, but it looks like they'll sort their differences, and well, that's Sergey Harras there caught out on the sort of the cut in that makes the short layout what it is, to try and make sure that back straight isn't a big factor. There's Will Fisher though having a bit of a battle with Alfredo Mallow, and he's been able to cycle himself through. Meanwhile, Graukoga and Kabanka behind were having a bit of a duel round.
Yeah, absolutely. Just watching throughout the field as well, it looks like everyone's managed to survive the first lap just about, especially through the twisty sections in the first sector, but yeah, everyone's made it through so far, and yeah, it's good to see.
You can see you're riding on the back of Will Fisher right now, and ahead of him things are starting to get a little bit spicy as well. You can see that there's some separation in the field already with this second train, really not being able to keep touch with the leaders right now, but let's just see what happens throughout the rest of the 20 laps that we now have to run. We're riding on board with Jose Sawyer. So Simon Edwards has been able to get himself up into the race lead here, but nothing is guaranteed, especially with Sawyer behind. You've got Dennis Johansson as well in that little bit of a trio at the front, and now down into the big braking zone. You see 5-car breakaway from the rest of the field into the braking zone. And right now, these guys are just looking to just calm themselves down, just try and solidify position here, get a good pace going early on here, Ryan, and maybe try to extend the gap back to that second train, as Otero's had problem.
Yeah, just looking at the replay to see what happened to Otero, it looks like it might have been into the final chicane as I'm not sure who it is making a move. Tries to make a move up the inside, and Otero just gets tagged from behind into the chicane. That's
Borja Zazo that was trying to head his way by, and yeah, that's a bit unfortunate there for Otero, and well avoided by the cars behind trying to foul through on that one, I have to say. But meanwhile, back towards the front of the field, we're riding on board with your race leader right now, looking back at Jose Sawyer as Sawyer gets a very good run out of what would have been turn 5 if we turn left, but of course short layout and all that. There is Dennis Johansson though. He makes his presence known, looks to try and dive down the inside. Oh my word, there's lots of cars, well, a couple of cars off there coming through the middle sector. We'll get to see what exactly has happened here. Meanwhile, Johansson has been able to get himself up into P2, but contact from behind. Oh my word, that's a massive impact. Yeah, absolutely. That was just unlucky for Kabanka. He got tagged around and got rear right suspension damage, and then the cars right behind him just had nowhere to go but to plough into the side of him, and he was just a passenger. Johansson to the race lead now as things start to get very interesting inside this leading group, as Jose Sawyer now in P3, but these guys keeping themselves close together. You see the rest of the train as well. You know, the more these guys battle, the more chance there might be some outsiders joining us at the front here. So you can't really afford to do it too much, especially this early on in the race, but you also try and work that track position as well. Simon Edwards looking to try and take the race lead back on the way down into that final chicane. Dennis Johansson not going to defend it, just takes that outside, and Simon Edwards, he gets back to the pointy end of the field here, Ryan.
Yep, Edwards back into the lead, but close behind him is Johansson, Sawyer, Fisher, and Mallow, and also not far behind these guys is Tim Gorkroger. So yeah, still relatively close between these guys up at the front, and we could be in for most of it for this battle for most of the race. So especially with the short layout as well, it'll make it even closer.
Ooh, no. Well, a couple of moments of side-by-side into the first sector, but they'll all get line astern by the time the S's section arrives. We're looking at the car that's right on the back of this train right now, because that's Tim Graukroger, and well, if he can keep within the leading pack's draft here and not lose them and then get himself into a bit of no man's land, then he has a decent opportunity of hauling himself onto the podium, given the right set of circumstances later on.
Absolutely. I mean, if I was Tim, I would probably be happy to sit behind this pack at the moment, as these guys are still close into the chicane. But if I was Tim, I would just sit behind and just let it pan out and just see how it goes. And towards the end of the race, if he's still right behind these guys, then start making a move.
Riding on board with Will Fisher, the good old shoulder cam. That's what we like to see. He's getting the double toe from those two race leaders, but they've swapped positions once again. Dennis Johansson taking the lead lap accolade this time around, but I wouldn't be surprised if Simon Edwards has another little bit of a look into that final chicane to try and basically alternate the race lead here. But which of these cars from further back in the train will try to spoil that cycle? Fisher hasn't really been looking all that aggressive just yet with your two race leaders. He's just been sort of in the middle of this particular pack, just biding his time at the moment. You see Edwards look to try and go around the outside of Johansson there, and he'll alter it to the inside of the braking zone for the chicane. Fisher was like just weaving all the way down that straight there, a little bit weird, trying to maybe get some heat into the tires. You would have thought they'd be okay on lap number 6, but now this is Will Fisher's time to strike. He makes it side by side with Edwards in towards that final corner. So tough to go too wide through here, but he skipped Barbers. They are very small. A lot of racing room given by both of them, as well as they'll look to try and sort this out in towards turn number 1. Fisher still trying to look for a space on the inside there. He has about a country mile to work with. Edwards is being very, very fair here on the way up in towards turn 3. But once again, single file for the start of the S's. And well, if this carries on all the way until the end, Ryan, that's going to be an absolutely incredible thing to witness.
I have to agree. Yeah, this is a fantastic battle at the moment. I thought Fisher was going to go for the move up the inside of Edwards into turn 1 and try and take that second place, but I think he's just doing the sensible thing at the moment, not doing anything too silly. He's just doing his own thing and letting Johansson and Edwards in front of him battle away. But if Johansson and Edwards keep battling away, they might get caught up with each other, and these cars behind might get caught up as well.
And remember what I said about this amount of battling early on, because now this train looks to start to get bigger, because there's P7 and P8 quickly closing in on them. That's Tim Hendrickson and Anthony Catt that are now looking to become potential players in the battle for the podium positions here. And we're not even halfway through the race yet, so still a lot more things to develop here before we get to crown a race winner. But right now, it could technically be anyone inside this top 8.
Yeah, for me, it's difficult to predict a winner. The is fishing is sideways.
Ooh, Fisher, that's a big moment, and Mallow now heads his way down the inside of the right-hander. That does become the outside for the first apex of the chicane. We'll see the swap for the race lead once again here, down into this very same section. It will be fought this time, so 2 by 2 for all of your podium positions, as we see Mallow come out on top in the battle for P3, but the one for the race lead is still undecided. Edwards on the inside right now, Johansson going the long long way around, and these guys just keep at it. They keep fighting, and the more they do, the more cars that potentially can get involved. Look at this on the way down into turn number 1. Everyone wants a piece of the 2 wide action here. Edwards almost tracked out into the side of Johansson that time around, in for the battle for the race lead, and in towards turn 3. Alfredo Mallow down the inside. Fisher still struggles to hold on. He did very well to avoid that curb there, otherwise that would have spelled doom in terms of his races. This is just brilliant stuff, Ryan.
I'm loving this battle at the moment. There's about, this battle's going all the way down to Anthony Catt, and at the moment anyway, at this stage of the race, it's going to be difficult to predict a winner and predict the podium finishers. But this battle is awesome at the moment. They're racing each other hard, but they're giving each other respect at the same time.
Fisher looks to try and capitalize on a compromised Johansson coming under the Suzuki bridge. He might even go for the race lead down the inside. He's trying to go for the 2 for 1. We'll see 3 wide on the way in towards turn 1. We see Mallow also had a look to try and make it 4, but there's simply no spaces. Dennis Johansson to the race lead. We'll see 3 wide for B number 2, 4 wide for B number 2, and there's contact, and that was somewhat inevitable. Will Fisher, Tim Hendrickson have a bit of a tangle. See,
just look at the replay to see what happened, and it looks like 4 cars tried to go for it, squeeze into a gap, but it wasn't there, or just disappeared, and unfortunately Fisher and Hendrickson got caught up with each other, and that's scuppered their chances of getting a good result in this race.
And it also does mean that Dennis Johansson now has a 1.2 second gap to P2. So he's broken the draft of the rest of the field as a result of that incident. We see the onboard as well here. Oh, the rejoin, not exactly ideal. Borges Arzo, he had to try to take avoiding action, and he does cycle back through the field somewhat, but that was so close there to being a super sketchy rejoin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, looking at this looking at the replay of this battle as well, or back through the pack, I should say. Yeah, there's still plenty of good battles going on at the moment in the field, and I think there's Anthony Jones and a few other cars in front of him, but that incident was really unlucky for Fisher and Hendrickson, because they were having good races, but that's just the nature of the Skip Barber. Sometimes if you get too close for comfort, it can bite you.
Yeah, Will Fisher now, of course, 4 wide doesn't tend to work. It works more in these Skip Barbers than it does in any other car, admittedly, but now we see Will Fisher down the inside of Torres. Gets that pass done. Torres tries to come back at him though, and goes up over the gear. We might see, well, at least briefly 3 wide again in towards the final corner. No, it's just the 2 wide that we have going on here. You can also see that I think that's Anthony PM Jones also trying to get involved. We also see Borges Arzo as well, 4 wide into turn 1 here in the mid-back of your race, but this time they keep it clean, no contact like your leaders had. 2 by 2 between Torres and Fisher into turn 3, and Fisher is able to make it work around the outside into that corner. These guys, they're not really pulling their punches, are they?
Absolutely not. I have to say that was an absolutely fantastic move on the outside of 4 cars into turn 1 by Anthony Jones. That was just, he managed to hold it on the outside and pass 4 cars into turn 1. That was amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's incredible. Alfredo Mallow, though, he looks to try and make some heroics of his own when it comes to those 2 cars directly ahead of him. And he's sort of been working with Simon Edwards here to try and sort out that gap, and it well and truly has been sorted out, because it was 1.2 seconds. Now it's basically 3.5 tenths of a second between P1 and P2. So Johansson not able to maintain the gap that was gifted to him as a result of that incident. And just look at the train re-established for your race lead.
Indeed, there's it looks like we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still got a 6-car battle for the lead, so even that instant a few laps ago, they've still got this battle at the front, and I think it's still close. It's still hard to predict a winner for this race. But if I was a betting man, looking back at through this pack, I would have to say my money at the moment it has to be on Tim Galkroger.
Well, the man in P4 is Ryan's pick to win this race in that bright yellow machine. But who's it really going to be? We're around about half a race away from finding out, just over half a race away, as we see Simon Edwards. Look at the speed coming out of that final turn. He'll try to go back to the race lead then. After catching up that gap, is he able to do it? Well, Johansson will still fight him on the outside here, so these guys going to be have the roadblock established once again. Everyone behind, but oh, there's a bit of contact between the two of them. Simon Edwards into Johansson there, and Johansson, does he have broken suspension? I think he's okay. There's a little bit of damage to that right rear, but oh my word, this is now cutting things close here. You can see Simon Edwards on the replay. I think he's just trying to fight a lost battle there, to be honest.
I have to agree. It was just Dennis was in front of Simon into the corner, and Simon was just. I can understand in a way you're in contention for a win, but he was just fighting a losing battle, and unfortunately it ended up in contact with him and Dennis came off the worst.
Yeah, and the thing is though, for Dennis, if he can keep the lap times up here, he might still be able to get himself involved in this. But Alfredo Malo now having a look, or at least a show of the nose, into turn 1. But Edwards, experienced as ever, doesn't fall for it. Highest iRating in this entire field, of course, being the number 1 car. Meanwhile, in the number 6, Tim Graukoger. Well, he's gained 1 position, he's gained 2 more for your prediction to work out here, Ryan.
Yeah, since I predicted Tim, I'll probably jinx him at some point, but he's having a good race at the moment, and he's still behind these 2 guys in front. I don't know what to do if I was Tim. Maybe sit behind these guys, for a few more laps, and then towards the end maybe try. Oh, is he going for a move up the inside to try and take P2?
He says no, and he picks up the position. So that's Tim Graukoger up into P2, and Edwards actually didn't get the greatest of runs there out of that final corner, so it could be 2 in quick succession here for the driver of the number 6. Takes a bit of a wider line through that final corner, and well, he'll try to go the long way around in turn number 1 then to try and get past Edwards. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of entry speed into here. Has to be careful about the track out here. It's a little bit squirrely up against the curb, but still side by side with Edwards into turn 3, and this time it's kept clean, and Tim Graukoger is your new race leader.
Brilliant piece of driving from Tim. He managed to hold up from the big on the exit of turn 1 on the outside, and managed to hold it into the S's section, and he's up into the lead. But I think Simon Edwards is not going to sit back and just let him get away, as Edwards is trying to go for the move and try and retake the lead.
Yeah, he is. He's having a big look here down the inside. Oh, Tim, he's in the grass a little bit with 2 tyres, and Simon Edwards trying to retake his crown coming under the Suzuki bridge. 16 laps onto lap number 17 now, as Alfredo Malo here also looking and hoping and maybe making it 3 wide in towards turn 1. It is there. There's a slight overlap to Graukoger, though. He pushes a little bit wide. Can he hold it over the grass? He can. He loses positions, though, and now it's Alfredo Malo that's at the pointy end of the field, capitalizing on that. Simon Edwards will remain in P2, but look at this sketchy moment from Graukoger on the replay.
That was a heart and mouth moment for Tim. How he held that over the curb and the exit is beyond me, but fair play to him, he managed to hold it. And I'm just looking at the field back up at the front as well, Connery. The person that's benefited the most from this, these guys scrapping, is Dennis Johansson. He's managed to get himself back into contention.
All of a sudden, he was a big feature at the start, and now he's going to be a big feature at perhaps the end, as they had a big stack up, in fact, into that final chicane. A lot of drivers taking some avoiding action. side by side between Graukoga and Cat, though, into the final corner. And Graukoga, still losing positions perhaps at this stage. He'll still try to fight it a little bit coming into turn 1, but now he's going to just duck back in line. Battle for the race lead, though, once again. Mallow is now the driver still to try and defend. Johansson, of course, as you mentioned, now inside the top 3, so he's recovered things absolutely amazingly here to get in this position, but he was certainly helped by how much action this front train's been having.
Also, I'm looking back behind this pack as well. It looks like P7, P8 and P9 are Cats, and Tim Hendrickson, Jan Tent and Edwin Valerino.
Wow. It's seeming like everyone wants to turn up to this race at this point, and well, Anthony Jones is about 3 seconds off the train, and well, if they keep going like this, then he's then he might be able to get himself involved as well. But as it stands, 9 cars fighting for the same positions right now. Mallow, though, he's lost the race lead. He'll try to go back around the outside of Edwards, though, into turn 1. And they'll be even Stevens into the corner. Edwards getting a little bit of a better traction, better corner, better exit. But now in towards turn number 3, he'll have the inside line. So Edwards can maintain the race lead, but everyone is completely and utterly nose to tail behind this as they go down through the S's section. And we're riding on board with Dennis Johansson right now as he tries to find a way by. He has the double toe of both your leaders ahead. Now just the single one. He follows in the footsteps or the tire tracks of Edwards and then switches to Mallow to try and have a look. Oh, he's tempted to shoot the gap in the middle, but not enough space to do that. Side by side for the race lead, side by side for every position imaginable behind as well. Mallow will maintain the race lead as Graukoga. He's had a bit of a half spin and more contact. Oh my word, who's that on their roof? I believe that was Valerino. It was. We'll get the replay of for you now. You can see this, contact there through the middle, and then Valerino, innocent passenger, and that one, he gets flipped onto his roof there, and it's another sketchy situation for Graukoga that right now he is sort of leading a second pack here, so there's still more opportunity here in these final 2 laps for Graukoga to get involved, but now that 9-car train at the front goes down to 5.
What the incident has allowed to happen though is Tim Hendrickson to move up into P4, and he's right behind the top 3, and it looks like he's trying to make it 4 wide down the straight.
And 2 by 2 at the very front of the field, 3 laps to go here, and Anthony Cat, new race leader there. He's able to squeak his way by Simon Edwards, and now Jose Sawyer. He's been quiet throughout this race despite starting pole position, but now is his time to maybe become a big factor here. He's been able to get himself up into P3. We see Tim Hendrickson as well, also involved in this leading group. Up the hill once again, and you can see that Hendrickson's sensing for a move into turn 3. It's such a difficult one to pull off a move into there, so you have so many better opportunities as well, especially here in the Skip Barbers, to try and work your way past. So a turn 3 move is optimistic at best.
I've got 2 laps remaining, and I think at this stage of the race, Connery, with 2 laps to go, I think at this stage of the race it's gloves off and every man for themselves.
I think it is. We'll see 3 wide perhaps into the chicane. Sawyer not gonna go for it. He was certainly tempted by the fact. Edwards down the inside of Cat to go back to the race lead. Sawyer trying to keep P3 and keep Hendrickson behind him under the Suzuki bridge once again, and now they're gonna look to try and get the white flag here. Start of the final lap of this race. Simon Edwards leads it across the line. Anthony Cat second in line. And then it's Hendrickson who's been able to get himself up into P3. Sawyer sits in P4. Now, up into turn 3 they go. Still all line astern. No one was side by side out of that final corner. Cat was slow, though, coming through the first portion of that SS section, but he's able to recover things somewhat by the time the exit of it arrives. Carries a lot of speed into that long right-hander. The 4 cars in this front pack all stacked up together. Will we see 3 wide? Might we even see 4 wide into the final chicane here? Anthony Cat on the inside. You see Hendrickson dive himself down to the inside as well. Cat leads into the final chicane. A bit of contact for P2 between Edwards and Hendrickson. More shoving off the corner. Edwards down the inside of the final corner to try and take the race lead away. Same idea for Hendrickson. He gets crowded out side by side across the line, and Edwards is able to take it. Oh my word, that was incredible stuff in that front pack. We saw hints of it coming through the middle portion of the race, but oh my word, it was all everyone's game coming through that final corner. Hendricks has a wild ride coming up to that start-finish line. He does eventually back up over it, but oh my word, how's Simon Edwards done that?
I have no idea, but oh, that was a fantastic finish to this race. That was just, I don't know how to describe it, but holy cow.
Safe to say, Racesport TV will be submitting 2 things to the iRacing January Top 10s this month. We'll see the replay of the final lap then. Simon Edwards riding on the back of him. He led the final lap. He, led at the start of the final lap. He leads at the end of the final lap, which is the more important one, of course, but that could have been so easily Anthony Katz. I thought it was going to be Anthony Katz coming out of that final chicane, but Edwards somehow able to recover. We'll get to see how he does it. You can see coming through this very long right-hander. Everyone has everyone else's draft here with the exception of Edwards. So Cat goes down to the inside here into that final chicane. I thought at this point it was basically sealed here, as I thought Edwards had lost too much ground, and especially with Hendrickson on the inside of him, and especially with the contacts. But Cat was a little bit slow coming off the chicane, in fact, and it did give the opportunity for Simon Edwards to head his way down the inside, and you can just see on the inside there, instantly start finish line, big crash behind. Wow, just wow.
That was fantastic racing, and that's probably got to be the best race of the season, Connery, as the results are just about to pop up on screen now.
And it was by 400ths of a second as well. Simon Edwards will win this race. Anthony Cat P2. It's an all-British P1, P2. We see Jose Sawyer, though, pole position. He comes home with the final step on the podium. Jan 10th, though. He was he was one of those mid-pack runners who were just minding his own business, and he comes away with a top 4 now. Anthony Jones in P5. Tim Hendrickson featuring towards the end there, but ends up in P6. We see Tim Graukoga. He was a big player as well, but he comes away with P7. Will Fisher, he was battling for the podium positions very early on in the race, but wasn't able to recover things much up into P8. As you see, Borja Zazo, P9, and Ben Snell ends up with a top 10 finish. And then you see Gonza Garcia, you see Crispel Otero, Edwin Valerino had a ride onto his roll hoop, shall we say, instead of roof. Of course, these skip bubbers don't have roofs. As we see Sergio Heras in P14, Alexis Vico in P15, Alfredo Malo, though, who what could have been, he ends up finishing 2 laps down, but he was fighting and scrapping in that lead pack for the vast majority of the race. Dennis Johansson, similar for him as well. He was on that big recovery drive, but he comes home P17. Torres in P18. Christian Carbanca will round out your 18-car results. That's it for the racing, but don't go away because we have the post-race show just after this. I've been Connery Maddock. That's been Ryan Walker, and we'll be talking in a couple of moments' time. after one of the most exciting finishes we've had in a while. It's the post-race show here on RaceSpot TV for the RaceSpot TV Friday primetime race at Skip Barber. At Road Atlanta for the Skip Barber Racing Series. I'm Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Ryan Walker for this one, and wow, that was just action throughout.
That was just absolutely fantastic to watch. Not even fantastic, that was just epic. Just everywhere you looked there was a battle going on, but that fight at the front for the win, going right down to the last lap, that's probably one of the best races I've watched this season so far, and I think we're in for more of the same this season, or for the rest of the season I should say.
Simon Edwards comes away with it, maybe under a little bit of controversy considering how much contact that he did have throughout that race, and when you think about it like that, it could be bittersweet in terms of the race win here. Just what's your assessment of that, Ryan? Because sometimes at Skip Barbers they can have a relatively bad rate of attrition in terms of the incidents, but right now Simon Edwards on the top step, but some people may be unhappy.
Yeah, I think with these shorter layouts as well, the race is so close and everyone's fighting each other really hard that you're always going to get accidents and the odd bump or the odd nudge or odd shove or whatever you want to call it. The end of the race, I guess people have their opinions and their views on the race, but I'm not really bothered about that. The racing was fantastic, and that's what we like to see in iRacing.
And of course, we can have a little bit of a look at what is in store for us through the rest of this season. We're coming up on the halfway point of the season. Next week, we are going to Phillip Island, which should be an absolutely fantastic affair. Then we have Oran Park. The week directly afterwards, then we take a trip to Zandvoort, New Hampshire. You see Alton Park, Spiket, Barcelona, Catalunya. And then to finish off the season on the February the 28th, we'll be going to the Silverstone National Circuit. So, plenty of very decent tracks to play are in play here for the end of the season here, Ryan. I'm particularly excited to see how Phillip Island next week is going to run.
Phillip Island, it's an absolutely fantastic track, especially in the Skip Barber. And I think with Phillip Island having that long home straight and also that kind of little mini straight after the first couple of corners, I think it could be yet again a close race, but we'll just need to wait and see how it pans out.
And of course, our director quite helpfully reminding us that the day in February 28th is of course Valentine's Day, so it's there's going to be no love lost out on circuit though. 14th, excuse me. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I accidentally doubled the date number. There we go. But February 14th. Join us for that one. That should certainly be interesting, but that's all that we're going to have time for here on RaceSpot TV, and that is RaceSpot TV Friday prime time in the books once again. But we've got so many more weeks of this Skip Barber Racing School series. I've been Connery Maddock. That's been Ryan Walker. We've had Paul Smith behind the scenes pushing all those buttons to make all those cameras look and graphics look absolutely perfect. And we'll see you guys same place, same time next week. Goodbye.